It's that time again. It's the first Tuesday of a new month, and it's time for Top 10 Tuesday. And this time, even though I'm a couple days late for Halloween, I'm going to do my top 10 favorite horror comics of all time. And as always, this could be an ever-changing thing. I may do another one next year, and it may change a lot or a little. But I'm going to get right into it. At number 10, I've got Shiver by Junji Ito. Now, that's quite a departure for me because I'm not a manga guy, but, the Comic Slayer, Omni-Cat, Kristen, better known to me as Kristen. My daughter, she gifted me Shiver. It's been a couple years ago, I think. Maybe last Christmas? Not sure. Maybe my birthday. She buys me gifts all the time. She's like that. And I tell you what, it's manga, but for me it's a departure from manga because the limited amount of manga I've looked at tends to be art that, well, I'm going to try to be charitable. I don't care for most manga art, but Junji Ito is different, quite a bit different. Very detailed, very fine lines. Just love it. And Shiver is an anthology collecting that he picked out, different stories for himself, and I really enjoyed it. And it's, of course, it's creepy and way far out there, as he's known to be, and this is no different. And that's number 10 on my top 10 horror comics. At number 9 in my horror countdown, I have Empire of the Dead. Now, this is something I never hear anyone talk about. I don't know, it's possible that this thing bombed. Maybe it didn't sell. I don't know. But this is George A. Romero, the creator of Night of the Living Dead. And this is a 15-issue limited series that Marvel put out, ran from 2014 to 2015. And George Romero wrote this, and it had art by 3 different people. The first art was by Alex Maleev, fantastic. And the second and third are by a couple artists I'm not familiar with. I'm going to try not to butcher their names. It was Dalibor Talij and Andrea Moody. And those were pretty good too. Not as good as Alex Maleev, but I did enjoy them as well. And I have them in 3 trade paperbacks. Not my favorite format at all. I'm assuming that these could be upgraded. I'm not sure. I haven't checked into it, but I'm hoping there's a big hardcover of all of them, but I kind of doubt it since I never hear this ever talked about or mentioned, but I really enjoyed it. It's set in Romero's Night of the Living Dead universe, as far as I can tell, but this seems like it's farther into the future, and society's broken down, and there's all these factions of different people, there's a lot of political machinations going on. And yeah, it's mostly set in I think New York. Yeah, New York. Everybody's crammed together, and they have fences to keep out the dead, and it's just a mess. And there's vampires are introduced into the universe for the first time, and it's pretty cool. And then number 8 in my countdown is a similar property, and this one came out at DC. It's called Toe Tags, and this was called The Death of Death, and also by George A. Romero. And as far as I can tell, this is set chronologically before Empire of the Dead. This came out 2004, 2005. It was a 6-issue limited series. Beautiful art by Tommy Castillo. And I actually got him to do me a zombie head sketch on a backing board when I got to see him at Wizard World Chicago 2005. I'll show a scan of that. I have it on my wall in here in the library. It's nice. But yeah, I'm a big fan of his art. And this story, I think I liked a little better than Empire of the Dead. I like both, but this one concerns, I think, this zombie mate named Damien, who, for some reason, he retains a lot of his memory and his intelligence, or at least some of it. And yeah, it's pretty wild. And what I would like to see, and I don't imagine this will ever happen, even though I don't think either company, DC or Marvel, owns this. I'm sure the Romero estate probably owns this, so maybe it could happen. But I'd like to see a giant omnibus with all of it together in chronological order. Empire of the Dead and this Toe Tags Death of Death. That would be fantastic. Probably never happened, but yeah, I'd like to see it. At number 7, I've got Uzumaki. Junji Ito makes another appearance in the countdown, a little further up. Now, this one came out, I think this is material that was serialized in Japan from 1998 to 99 is what I read. But yeah, it's one story instead of an anthology, although there are little bits, but they all fit together in almost like an original graphic novel, and I loved it. I don't own this one yet. I'm going to get a copy, but my daughter Kristen loaned me this, and I read it, blown away. More beautiful art by Ito. Very bizarre story. Most of it pays off, though. He lands these endings a little better in this larger work than I think he did in the smaller shorts in Shiver. But yeah, it's good stuff. If you haven't read it, yeah, I get it. It's creepy as hell, very bizarre, just way far out, but it's good. I think Ito might be the H.P. Lovecraft of the modern age, at least the manga version of H.P. Lovecraft, maybe. That's one way to look at it. Now, at number 6, I've got Haunt of Horror by Richard Corbin. Now, Richard Corbin did the art in it, and he's adapting loosely some H.P. Lovecraft stuff and some Edgar Allan Poe stuff. These were 2 3-issue limited series that came out as Marvel Max comics. And these are black and white. These are black and white, which I'm not normally a black and white guy, but I'll make an exception for an Ito or a Richard Corbin, that's for sure. And yeah, it's good stuff. It's not a perfect adaptation. There's some issues here and there. I mean, he took a lot of liberties, and he's not the only writer. There's another writer comes in on some of these, but it's good stuff. I have the singles in these. I think they were collected. I don't know if the hardcover came out, but something I should probably look into because I really liked it. And that's number 6 in my countdown. Number 5, I've got Harrow County. I probably don't need to really say much about Harrow County because it's very well known. It has quite a cult following, well deserved. It's a great series written by Cullen Bunn, art by Tyler Crook. This one went for 32 issues in singles. This one's been collected in all kinds of formats. I have them in the big library editions, big 4 library editions, and they're fantastic. And then Tales of Harrow County just started coming out in library also, and I got that. I haven't read the first one of that yet. Now, Harrow County is number 5 for me, and it is great. If you haven't read it yet, you need to read it. The hype is real on this one, for sure. At number 4, I have another black and white. A lot of black and white in this group. Not by choice. I would rather my stuff be in color, for sure. But at number 4, I've got The Walking Dead. Now, this one's so famous, I don't need to talk about it. This is Robert Kirkman's sort of reimagining of the George A. Romero style zombie apocalypse. But he, if you look at it in one way, he's written more about it than Romero has at this point, even counting all of Romero's films. But anyway, this ran from 2003 to 2019, 193 single issues. I have them in 16 deluxe hardcovers, but it's been printed and reprinted in a ton of different formats. So whatever your favorite is, you can get it in that flavor for sure. And yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot. I keep hearing there's color ones being made, but they haven't been collected yet. I don't think they've went through all 193 issues yet, but I will rebuy this in color for sure. At number 3 in the countdown, I have Werewolf by Night. This is Marvel's awesome werewolf series. Started in 1972, ran through 1977. There's been a few minis and one-shots since then, but yeah, the original, man, it's so great. Jerry Conway, Lynn Wein, Marv Wolfman, Mark Frederick, and Doug Minch all were involved in writing it. And the awesome art throughout the series by Mike Plug and Tom Sutton, a little bit of Werner Roth, and Gil Kane, and then Don Perlin did quite a few issues. It's great. Just great stuff. I have it in the omnibus. One omnibus collects all these, and I think you can get it in a few other formats. I had all of the original issues at one time, and they're another thing that got sacrificed, and I sold those off to help fund all of this and all of my omnibuses. But yeah, it's good stuff. I really loved it. At number 2, I've got another Marvel monster series from that era, and that's Man-Thing. This started in 1974. Steve Gerber wrote it. Fantastic. Some art by Val Merrick and a lot of art by Mike Plug again. Just fantastic stuff. The original series, like I said, started in 74. I think it ran about 19 issues. And there was another one that ran in the late 70s, early 80s. It ran about 11, and there's been some minis and one-shots and giant sizes and that sort of thing. All of it is collected, at least all from those eras, are collected in one giant omnibus. And I think it's back in print. Not sure about that, but I have the omnibus. Again, I had all of the original Man-Thing issues, sold those off to fund hardcovers. But yeah, I have the omnibus now, and I love it. It's great stuff. A lot of people conflate Marvel's Man-Thing with DC Swamp Thing, and some even have made the accusation that, Marvel ripped off DC. No, they didn't. If you look at the origins of both of these books, they were created and written sort of concurrent with one another, and no one ripped anyone off. It was just one of those things. They have some similarities. They have some visual similarities more than anything else, but they're very different characters otherwise, and I love them both. At number 1 is Tomb of Dracula. This is Marvel's fantastic take on Bram Stoker's Dracula. and I just loved it. This ran from 1972 to 1979, 70 issues run was the length of the run. I had all these, another thing that I sold off to fund all the hardcovers. Marv Wolfman did most of the writing, and Gene Colan did almost all the artwork. And man, it's fantastic. Gene Colan at his best in this series. Lavishly illustrated. They look like paintings. I mean, I don't know how he did it and how he kept the book on time, but he did. And it's fantastic stuff. If you're a vampire fan, you're a Dracula fan, Marvel's Tomb of Dracula is a must-have, and it's #1 on my list for sure. I have all 3 omnibus. It took 3 omnis to hold it all, and I have all 3 of those, but I understand #1 got reprinted. Volume 2 is still very difficult to get. 3 might not be much easier. But I think you can get them in some other formats. If you're willing to take a soft cover, you can probably get them that way. Epics, I think. But yeah, I really loved it. And I don't think it's been topped. I'm not sure there's been a Dracula adaptation that's been better than Marvel's Tomb of Dracula. Now, that's my top 10 horror comics of all time for right now. And this is subject to change like all my top 10s. I will probably revisit this next year. And we'll see how it changes from one year to the next. One thing you might see that I've omitted here is Swamp Thing. And the reason for that is I haven't read it all yet. I'm going to finish the Swamp Thing Bronze Age Omnibus, and then I'm going to read the Alan Moore Swamp Things before I decide where Swampy fits into this list. Because I know he'll fit in here and he'll push something off for sure. I'm positive of that. I'm about halfway through the Bronze Age Omnibus right now, and I really love it. He won't be #1. He won't displace Tomb of Dracula, but he'll shove something out for sure. And we'll see what that is next year. Maybe I'll get this top 10 in October next year. Missed it by a little bit this time, but that's what I got for my top 10. What are your top 10 favorite horror books of all time? Talk about them in the comments if you want, and come on back for more. If you haven't subscribed, be sure to do that and hit the bell, notify yourself so you don't miss any upcoming stuff. And I'll see you in the next one.